Welcome to Little Birdie Podcast. I'm your host, Scoot, and we're talking Thursday lines. AFL season is on our doorstep, but the greatest game of all is back this weekend. And without further ado, let's introduce the man of the moment. He's been in hibernation. His name's Nick Tedeschi. He won at 16.97% last season for his overall NRL results. He's looking fresh. How are you, brother?
Oh, I could not be more excited. Absolutely gagging for it. Rugby league is back. Oh, go away February, go away January. Here comes March and here comes rugby league.
I'm going to pop your balloon. I know you're excited. You're fizzing. It's the eve, but why are we doing this from a live beam from Vegas? You miss your plane? You've missed the boat?
No comment. No, look, I haven't ingratiated myself to the great man PVL enough over the years, so expect the next 12 months to be full suck hole. I'll do whatever I can. Whatever you need, Pete. Whatever you need, I'm there. Can't miss it again.
I'll do my best to try and make you get over there. That can be my New Year's resolution, or the top of my to-do list to try and get you there for the opener next year if it's still going. MG, he's had 3 winning years in a row with his AFL package as well, so 5.5%. He's just crushing out the pro numbers there. But MG, how have you coped with the off season? You're the king of the long lunch, the hole-in-one tournaments, Event City. What's going on?
Yeah, Melbourne's thriving. Scoot, we've had a very busy summer down here. Obviously, with the weather's been superb, as you know, Scoot. I think you were down here over Christmas and got sunburnt repeatedly. We had the what have we had? The Aussie Open 2 weeks. The Live event, not in Melbourne, obviously, but the Live event was very good. Obviously, had the NFL, the Super Bowl week, which we were just talking about before with what we did over the Super Bowl. But yeah, it's been a big off season, and a bit of golf, Scoot. The golf's in good shape, so happy to play for a bit of Arthur Ashe on the golf course at the moment. Yeah,
the Live event just goes from strength to strength when you've got guys like Dom Dollar and Fisher on the decks there. It's sure to be a big draw card there, but wow, the hospitality and stuff that they do over at Live, as you know, and we've discussed before, it's just a must do for the lads trip and the bucket list. Well, let's. It's going to be pretty much an NRL focused show. We will have a look at some of the AFL futures, but we'll do a little bit of a quick whip around about the grand final, because obviously we dropped the show, so we didn't really talk about the NRL Premiership winners, Penrith. And I guess the burning question about the Panthers, Nick Tedeschi, is have they got the depth to continue the dynasty?
Yeah, they do. Well, they absolutely do. Lost Fisher Harris, lost Jerome Luai, which is probably their biggest challenge. They've continually lost players over the last 4 years, but have been able to replenish. Whether they can replace Jerome Luai, not sure they can do that, but there's probably enough against them this year that I'm after tipping them last year, I'm tipping against them this year. They don't have the home ground this year. Penrith Stadium's being rebuilt, so they'll be playing the home ground at a CommBank. They're over in Vegas to start the year. No Luai, no Fisher Harris. I'm kind of think there might be just enough against them, but for mine, Melbourne and Penrith are well and truly clear on the ratings, the 2 best teams in the competition, so certainly not ruling Penrith out for sure.
And then we'll get to the futures betting properly, and we'll get deeper into it, but it was a Panthers Storm grand final, pretty defensive, 14-6. But I guess the question with the Storm, who can stop them? They seem to be the team that's had the least disruption in terms of roster changes. Munster's put himself on a booze ban. I don't know how serious that is or how long that'll last, but all guns blazing for the Storm, who are an ATM for us.
Yeah, they're looking absolutely prime this year for mine. A few things from last year. Yeah, they jumped favourites in that grand final, so they obviously had a big year. Munster was probably pretty ordinary last year, I thought. Pap was a long way from his best as he was coming back from pretty much 2.5 years on the sideline. He'll be better for that. You'd expect Munster will have a much, much better year. You saw a whole crop of young players kind of come through and play a full season and emerge as quality first graders. Jack Howarth, Tyron Wishart, Trent Liero, all kind of, Sean Bloor emerged as solid first graders. And now they've added Stefano Utukamanu, who played for New South Wales from the Tigers. You can only imagine he's going to be playing as fit as he's ever been after a pre-season grueling training regime under Craig Bellamy. So, they've got the depth this year, and that's something you can really say about Storm. Storm kind of typically have a pretty strong start inside that kind of falls away pretty quickly. They've got a lot of depth this year, even with the retirement of Christian Welsh. So, they're going to be very hard to beat this year, and particularly, during the regular season, I would expect them to run well clear.
Outstanding stuff. That's exactly what me and MG need to hear. We'll be looking to them every week to get us out of the shit. MG, with the Brisbane Lions and their emphatic victory over the Swans, there's a couple of questions that I sort of ask. They're sort of going to put themselves in the frame. It's going to be the Gabatoir Fortress again. They just need to find a replacement for Joe Danaher. Can they find the replacement for him as the first question? I guess the second question is, how do the Swans recover from that, those grand final scars? Defeats like that can mentally set teams back a long way, and it's cost them the coach. So Longmire's out, and they got the big Cox in. So no horse, but a big Cox takes place.
Yeah, it's on the Brisbane side of it, obviously they were impressive. I was at grand final day hoping the Swans would get the job done since we were on them from the pre-season. Unfortunately, the last couple of years, Scoot, I've been on Brisbane, couldn't quite get the job done against Collingwood. Somehow lost that by a kick, and the same team turn around and pull your pants down when I'm on Sydney. So maybe not follow me on the futures bets at the moment. I seem to be one step behind or one step off. But on the Brisbane front, they won't be able to replace Danaher. He's a unique player. And obviously, not only the goals he kicks and the structure, but, being that second ruck. So they're going to have to reshuffle their structure a bit. They've got some players coming up. They cover in the forward half. The second ruck's going to be a bit of an issue that they're just going to have to restructure. But, I think you're going to have to switch from the Gold Coast to the Lions up there in Q-Town, Scoot, because, they look impressive. They've got a few players back that lost through injury last year, Brisbane, so I don't think they'll be going anywhere. And I think they're good timing for the Swans. I think they're smart in terms of Longmire shifting. I think Cox will refresh them. They looked impressive against GWS in just a local hit out last week. You can't take too much about it, but there's some media people going around that saw one prominent, one of your mates, Scoot, that didn't even have Sydney in their top 11 the other day. So, Sydney will be playing finals. I'm pretty confident about that. They will have scars with the grand final, but they've got too good a side to miss the final, Scoot. So I think they'll both be there in what is a very open competition.
I've got no idea who you're referring to. I try and tune out a lot of that stuff, but I did see Daisy Thomas leave the Hawkers out of his top 8, so not sure what he's been doing in the off season, but he must have been having a pretty bloody good time if he's missed the Hawks somehow. But we'll get on to a lot more of that a little bit later on. Let's sink our teeth into the premiership prices at Top Sport, and we'll go shit before the shovel, and we'll go NRL first. We'll go Melbourne Storm, $3.40 favourites. Penrith Panthers, $4.60. Broncos, $7. Cronulla Sharks, $10. Canterbury Bulldogs, $13. Manly, $15. Cowboys, $21. Sydney Roosters, $26. 34 Eels. Rabbits are $34. And then you can get similar quote, or $41 for the Raiders, and much, much better the rest. The Dolphins there. The Warriors are on that similar quote. Gold Coast Titans are under the pump again at 50s, and that rounds out the competition. Obviously, you boys have both launched your futures packages, selling like hotcakes, and Nick Tedeschi, you had a big 70-unit profit. You absolutely skinned them alive in the futures. So there's Premiership advice, there's top 4, there's top 8, there's Spoon. It's a burger with a lot. So if you're a sicko and you would like big positions for the NRL, make sure you get around that for the $66, and the bookies will keep letting on for the first couple of weeks, and the prices won't change too significantly after Vegas. But we touched upon the top end of the market with Storm and Penrith. The Broncos have obviously had the Ezra Mam crisis and some injury troubles. You're pretty hell bent on laying them last year, and you got it completely right. How do you think they're going to front up this year?
Yeah, well, you can lay into your eyeballs, please, again. So, absolutely. But if they're the third best team in the Premiership this year, I'll dead set eat my hat. It is absolute stupidity that they're at price. There's a lot of faith being shown in Michael Maguire as a coach. Yeah, great. He won one Origin series, very different Origin to club football. His last 6 seasons of club football, 47 and 87. Yeah, some of that was with the Tigers. He also had a pretty good South team that did absolutely nothing under his watch. I would have took a real skill to be the first coach to lead South to a Premiership in 40 years and get fired 3 years later. He pretty much got a job for life after that. So, interesting hire by the Broncos. They've gone and got Ben Hunt, so now they've got 2 35-year-olds in their spine. Well, I don't know. South were widely lambasted for getting rid of Adam Reynolds a few years ago, but they were worried about year 3 and 4 of his contract. He spent half of last year on the sideline. Wouldn't surprise me to see the same again. They've got absolutely no depth in their team. So they've got a very strong kind of starting 13. The bench ordinary and it falls away very quickly after that. So absolutely chips in lane. The Broncos are with what's happening with the South and the Roosters are probably pushing the Broncos up into 8th spot around that mark, but the value is backing them to miss the 8. They are a great bet to miss the 8. So the South stuff in particular is a bit of a damper on that bet, but I'll still be taking yours. So made the finals, I think, one of the last 5 years. This is not the Broncos of old. Got no idea what the third favourites.
Yeah, so Cam's got the Achilles injury, and then Latrell's got the soft tissue injury, and then the Chooks, they've lost Manu Suwali, JWH. It's almost side away, and a big question of their depth. They need a lot to go their way, I would have thought. Looking at Cronulla, they've got a tougher draw, but you still expect them to steal themselves. They've held their list together pretty well. And I guess the other question, and this one's a bit close to the heart, Canterbury Bulldogs, are they still a rising star, or are they a one-season wonder? So question for Cronulla supporters and backers, and then again for your Bulldogs.
Well, let's start with the Sharks. Look, last year I was very confident in being a good draw and making the 8 and the 4. And having no chance to win the Premiership. And I'm pretty much in the same position again. Yep, the draw is tougher, but I think that's a little bit offset by the sign of that's prop in the game and Vanilla Black. That there aren't teams kind of coming to charge in the top 4 for mine. I think there's a lot of kind of middle-of-the-road teams this year. Sharks are a great bet to finish top 4 again. They're going to need some luck with health, but they've had 4 years under Craig Fitzgibbon. Worst finish of 6, 2 top 4 finishes. He's a big believer in continuity, so he's rolled the same team out again, added a champion prop. They're in a great spot this year. Can they win it all? Don't think so. Don't think they've got the gears in the finals to be able to go and win it. But can they win the minor premiership? Yeah, they certainly can. The Bulldogs, I'm probably a bit flat on the Bulldogs this year. I don't think there are enough teams below them to suggest that they're going to have a big fall this year. But I think it might be a bit more of a holding pattern as they kind of look for a playmaker next year, and they're bringing Leo Thompson in as well. For mine, you're probably not going to get the same year you got out of Connor Tracy and Toby Sexton. They're certainly not going to be the same health there was last year. But they've got a pretty easy run of it this year, or relatively easy run of it this year. They showed a lot of improvement. The turnover of players and the culture's changed a fair bit. I'm kind of happy for them to be another bottom of the 8th side again in 2025 without a lot of confidence there. Don't think they've got the years to go up, but wouldn't be stunned or a little surprised if they throw out of the action.
The biggest benefactors of a soft draw is Manly in your eyes, but their hopes logically pin on Tommy Turbo.
Man, this is toe string. For mine, Manly are the only team outside of Melbourne or Penrith who have legitimate claims of winning the comp, primarily on the fact that they've got the upside in an 80-minute period to win a game. With Tom Trbojevic, they beat both. They beat both Melbourne and Penrith last year, so they've got the goods to be able to do that. Now, over a full season, I certainly wouldn't be picking them to finish above either of those two teams, but I I think there's a little bit of veil in the Premiership, but I think they're a top 4 chance. I'm concerned about the coach. The coach is an idiot, Anthony Seavog. And that's not going to change over the course of the last season. Few concerns about the pack, but the back line is as red hot as there is in the comp. And if Tom Roach stays healthy, then they're going to win a lot of football games.
Speaking of coaches, the biggest move is Wayne Bennett out for the Dolphins. Post-Wayne Blues, it's a real thing.
Yeah, it has historically been a real thing, but I'm happy to bet against this year. I've got the package super bullish on the Dolphins in a lot of different ways. When Wayne leaves a club, he typically tends to leave a few landmines in the club as well, and then goes and pitches all the good players as well. So quite happy to blow it up. He built the Dolphins from scratch. He left on very good terms. Hasn't really taken any players. I think they're in a pretty good spot now. I might come to regret those words, but Christian Wolf's got experience. He did a great job at St. Helens. He's done a great job in the international arena. I think the Dolphins are in for a big year this year. And if you're going to splash on a 50-1 shot to win a Premiership, the Dolphins will be the one to do it. Now, they're not going to win the Premiership, but there's plenty of value on them to kind of work around their win total and a few other things there as well. So very keen Dolphins this year.
Outstanding stuff. Oh, there's a little snapshot of the major contenders in the NRL Premiership markets. The top 4 and the top 8. We'll give that a little bit of a swerve, but as I sort of said at the start of the show, $66 you can get all the bets that Nick Tedeschi has had in great detail. So if you echo some of his thoughts and you just need a little bit of a nudge and try and figure out how you're going to put that in together with your Premiership action, your top 4, your top 8, and conversely to miss 8, and all those betting markets that go along with the Premiership and season wins and all that sort of thing, he's got it absolutely covered. It's 8,000 words. So it's like an encyclopedia for futures punters. So make sure you check that out in the Little Birdie shop. You can see it on the email. You can see it on our Twitter account. It's everywhere. Let's have a look at the lease wins or the wooden spoon market and odds courtesy of Top Sport here again. You got St George Illawarra $6, Canberra $7, the Knights $7.50, the Dolphins $8, Warriors 9, Tigers 9, Gold Coast Titans 10, and then you got the Rabbits 11, Roosters $15. Thoughts or any sort of value here, Mr. Tedeschi?
Yeah, really open market. Fairly confident with the Tigers kind of total redo of their squad. They're not going to make it 4 in a row. I couldn't really be taking anything at the top of the market there. Just a couple of stats. Canberra were favourites in some market and with some bookies. Haven't won fewer than 10 games since Ricky Stewart's first season in 2014. So they've got a pretty high floor there. I think the Dragons have the worst roster, but Shane Flanagan showed last year gets together. I'm not sure we'll be able to do the same this year. I'm going to go a little wide. I'm going to back 2 teams. Teams I like to back are teams I think where the arse can completely fall out of the side, where coaches get sacked, players give up, all that kind of rubbish. And the 2 teams I'll be looking at are North Queensland Cowboys. I reckon Payton is on his way to getting fired this year. They've lost a lot of talent. They've had a couple of key injuries early in the season. Yeah, look good in preseason football, and I'm happy to be laying them. I think you get about 20-1 on them. And the Parramatta Eels, if Jason Riles turns out to be a good coach, I'll give it away. The last time, it would absolutely be a record. And the first time that a player who was a coach who was a complete moron as a player turns into an intelligent coach. So I don't know if anyone gave away more penalties or dumb errors than Jason Riles. So he's absolutely pulled the wrong way on the fullback. Getting rid of Gutho may or may not have been the right decision, but going all in on Isaiah Iongi, 60-odd New South Cup because the Penrith couldn't get a run except for one game. I'm fairly happy to say he's maybe not that good. So, I'll be laying Parra and they're one Mitchell Moses injury away from winning 4 games this year. So, I'll be having a little splash on those 2.
Nice little speculator at $17 Parramatta Eels. Well, I tell you what, regardless of the 7 units profit, it's just entertainment plus, and all those thoughts that are in his melon are written down on paper. So you get a good giggle out of the read. So it's a must buy. The Punters Guide it's been around for a decade. So it's a must. It's a must read for any enthusiast, and written by the Doyen himself. MG. Let's talk some AFL futures here. I'm pretty excited. I think it's going to be a great year for my team, the Hawk. And it's good to see them right up there in Premiership contention, given that we play the grand final at the MCG. I can see why they've been installed at second favourite, but Brisbane Lions to go back-to-back are $6.50 at TopSport. We're $8 the Hawks. You've got GWS Giants, $8.50 off some crazy chokes, giving up massive leads. $8.50, you got Carlton at $9, Collingwood $9, the Cats similar quote, Fremantle $10, Swans $10. Bookies sort of pricing like they've got no real idea. Hey, to be honest, if you look at the prices, there's no opinion here. $10 the Swans, Western Bulldogs $12, and then you got a big gap to Port Adelaide, which is remarkable that they're not on the similar lines as the top three sides in front of them. And then you've got the D's at $21, the Crows, the Suns, the Saints, the Bombers. Well, it's a pretty blunt premiership market, I would have thought. We spoke a little bit about the Brisbane Lions in terms of them. I guess the key to them will be finding a replacement for Joe Danaher. They've proven a couple of times that they were good enough to win away, so that hoodoo is definitely past them now. You'd like to think that they could go on with it now and hold no fears about the MCG. The Gabbatai is going to be an absolute fortress. Hawthorn, I guess, is the first one to talk about. Have other teams can figure out their game style, or is it too erratic and is it too fast and I guess off the cuff to figure out? What's the trick to beating Hawthorn, MG?
I think your Hawks, it's not so much figuring out their game style. It's whether they can keep up with them or not. It's also they probably just need to improve as well. The Hawks. They'll get a tougher draw than they got last year, obviously coming from well off the pace. Got a pretty easy draw the way the AFL structures it. So this year they'll have a tougher draw, so they've got to play better sides more often, so that's going to make it harder for them. And obviously on the injury front as well, they got a lot more players, playing 18, 20 games, so that obviously helps. Youth playing together, so balance both ways, Scoop. But yeah, with the Hawks, they got a brutal start. 5 of their first 6 games will tell a lot. So there's no pot on Hawthorn. I've still got them on ratings, just land inside the top 4, but I think you'll know more. I think they're more sit and wait. I'd rather see how the first 6 weeks play out for your Hawks at this stage.
Yeah, Barrass and Battle. I think Barrass is a big in. We've looked pretty shaky at times with Frosty back there, and then Josh Battle looked pretty good against the Cats, I would have thought. And it's just disappointing. We've got Cal Shadir out with some stress fractures on his lower back. He's going to be a 200-game player off what we've seen early, and then Mitch Lewis is still on the sidelines too. So there's some big back-end improvement if they can get the big guys up and rolling. And I just don't think they're going to take any risk with Cal Shadir. But look out if we finish top 4, because the way that the finals sort of shake out, we'll get a good run in late. But shoring up the...
Sounds like you're back on the Hawks full ball this year, Scoot.
Look, if anyone tuned into the show last year, I jumped on pretty cool. Pretty
Gold
quickly
Coast.
after
You're on Gold Coast.
After the Gold Coast loss, I jumped on again. But now that we've shored up the back line, I'd say that there's a lot to like about the Hawks. But again, they're pretty well found at the $8, so it's hard to really.
Well, that might be what they have to overcome as well. You being back fully fledged on the Hawks as well, that never bodes well. I'm not sure I don't think we've released the invite. I'll have to check with Toprope that Melbourne Storm invited you back onto the bandwagon either. Did we? I'm not sure.
Death over.
I'm not sure. We'll have to check that before we give you a Melbourne Storm cap as well. But yeah, listen, Scott, it is wide open, the AFL. And I think it drops off pretty quickly by the same token. So there's probably a good, maybe 8, 9, 10 teams. Really potted Carlton hard last year, a bit like Toprope with the Broncos. They were lay until the nose bleeds, and I think this year's the same. That they're, it's like Collingwood a bit. They're big supporter base, and they're always unders in the market anyway. They're just having a horrific run with injuries. They did it last year, which didn't help their cause, and this year already they've been the hardest hit of any team. And the premiership prices don't really reflect it. So if you're in the lay window, I think Carlton's a good lay this year. Their best team on the park. They've got every right to be there at the business end, but I'm not sure what's going on with their whether it's their training, their fitness regime, whatever, but they really struggle to keep their better players on the park for long periods of time. So until they overcome that, they definitely won't be entertaining winning a flag at this stage. You're right on Brisbane. There's no pot on them. Obviously, going back-to-backs, is hard in the AFL. And, they've got a bit to overcome with no Danaher, but they've definitely, they'll get some players back that copped knee injuries last year, so they'll have a few new fresh recruits. It looks like they're what would have been the number one draft pick, Levi Ashcroft, just looks like he's every bit of his brother. So, and combined with Neil, who we'll talk about probably a bit in the Brownlow earlier, I can't believe his price in the Brownlow. Their midfield's absolutely stacked, home ground advantage. As you said, they can win anywhere these days. So certainly no pot if you like out of Brisbane. The one that I'm actually tending to, or really bullish about, actually, Scoot. They got as big as $10 in the marketplace is GWS. Yep. I think they've got behind Brisbane. They should be second pick in the market for mine, and maybe even equal favourite on what happened last year. If you recall back, they had both the teams that played in the grand final dead to rights. Led by 44 points in one game and 4 goals in the other, both deep in the games, and coughed up both on back to back. So, things that if they'd able to play out, they might have even won a flag, and then they, probably this year going in would be around the $5 mark for mine. So I think GWS have got through their pre-season very well. I know, it was a high-intensity game against Sydney, and they got a licking, but, geez, I like their lineup on paper. I think they've got the depth to do it. Their forward line's absolutely stacked. I've never been a fan of Stringer, but it'd be just like Stringer coming to a new club where he's got no pressure. In that forward line, he might get the 5th, maybe even the 6th best defender. He kicked 43 goals for Essendon and was just pipped out by Langford for the most goals. So I think GWS, Sam Taylor, if they can get him fit back in the half, every line they've got no excuses, I think. So if I'm having one pick, I'm going to hang my hat early on GWS for this year, Scoot.
Yeah, 100%. I think the Stringer addition's unbelievable. I think he can easily kick 40 goals, and he's just going to be so dangerous. And just another, even a bit of a decoy, or just to play second fiddle to Jesse Hogan, gives them just so many options, and they can just play around with their structure. So I think he's going to go down as one of the steals or the recruits of the season, no doubt. Yeah, I did notice that Andrew Russell's departed Carlton, so they've got a new fitness man. I think Tim Finnis, or they've given Andrew Russell, or he's resigned from his post with all those injuries at Carlton, so they got new strength and conditioning there. But it may take them a little while, or even take the shine off the season again. But they need to get that under control, because if you haven't got troops on the park, you're in all sorts. Geelong seem to be somewhat evergreen. They've lost Hawkins and they've lost a couple of veteran players, but. Wow, they've picked up Bailey Smith. They're a destination club. Everyone wants to go there. They sort of look good. Well, they look really good against Hawks in the pre-season match, but they have a tendency to just be up early and can't hold their season together late.
I think we might have had this conversation not so long ago, Scott. I just can't get away from Geelong this year. I'm not generally a great fan of their setup, but I saw their coaching record of Scott. He's only missed 2 finals. I think it's in 13 or 14 seasons. The home ground advantage is amazing. They've got a great start to the year. Their first 5, they only play 2 of their first 7 at home, but they've got a great draw. I think they've recruited well. Hawkins will be a loss, but I think they've got the game style. They've got a pretty stacked forward line as well, and I just think Jeremy Cameron might go to a next level. I know he came second in the Coleman last year. I'm pretty bullish on him for about his price for the Coleman too this year, Scoop, but can't get away from Geelong. I think they've got top 4 written all over them with an even run of injuries. They've got a lot of pieces that make a lot of sense. And the other one, probably the value, I think, Scoot, outside of who missed the finals last year, is Freo for me. I think I don't like what they did with their coach, but I think they've just basically put him on notice. Whether that'll make a difference or not, put him onto a wage more than a contract. But, the Freo were I think they were 4th last year with a month to go, and just fell away badly and ended up missing the finals. But I like their side, and if they can overcome a few mental demons, I think they'll definitely be playing finals this year, and they could be the value pick.
Yeah, Shai Bolton looks like an outstanding addition there. Bit of polish, bit of flair. They've got some real, blue collar type players, but I think he'll add plenty to Freo if they can keep him on the park. So they'll be pretty hard to beat at home. Port Adelaide are the other interesting one. A little bit vulnerable up forward. Obviously, Charlie Dixon retired, and they just sort of got found out under that finals pressure. But they need a key forward before I could consider themselves as a genuine chance. They'll probably be in the finals, but I'm just not sure how far they can go.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Port. I don't like the way they're doing the coaching thing. I don't think that actually works. They've already said it's his last season regardless, so it might take a bit of pressure off, but also might not get 100% out of the players. Listen, I backed Port just from the value last year, and they actually finished second on the ladder, so I don't think they will necessarily miss finals, but they're definitely on the lower half of the 8, and they're not one for me this year, Scoot. I think they've got forward problems. They've already lost a key forward, and in Marshall, and if Georgiades gets injured or doesn't stand up, I think they'll struggle to put enough scores on the board.
All right, same with Toprope. MG's got his futures pack out there, so he's got the top 4 and the top 8 bets within that, and we'll have a look at the wooden spoon action here. And Richmond Tigers have got a stranglehold on this. It's $1.50 at Top Sport, and West Coast Eagles $5, $5.50 Kangaroos, $21 the Saints, and then you get the Bombers at $26. The Gold Coast Suns, $41. But Richmond seem to have drafted every young gun, so they've gone a complete rebuild. They've drafted away all their older talent. They'll just be getting sort of Ks and runs into the board for these younger players. They'll just be blooding these kids, and it's going to be hard for them, despite the talent, to keep up, won't it?
Yeah, one of the few betting future markets that's bit lopsided and probably not a betting entertainment. I think those who get on the early prices, Richmond, I think they were as big as $1.90. They were definitely $1.85 for the spoon. That was a gift. I'm sure they've gone into a lot of multis and also just backing them outright. I think they're probably 2 to 4 games the worst side in the comp. So I'm sure they'll keep going in. They'll shorten up the quickest. Their list is absolutely gutted. They'll cop some absolute floggings this year. I'll be pretty keen to oppose them in a few lines, especially when they play good sides away, like the Brisbanes, the Geelongs. Giants might really lick their chops with their playing them. But, I think it's a one-sided market, and I think, I really couldn't tip anyone with any confidence outside of Richmond. It's not a betting market for me this year, Scoot.
All right. The Brownlow medal and Coleman will be part of Mark's package, but we might try and cover some of that next week. But if you want to get the early jump on your rivals, head to Little Birdie Shop and check that out for him. He's got plenty of meat on the bone there with the Brownlow, the Coleman, and the NAB Rising Star. He's got some suggested plays on all of them. And let's get back into the rugby league. It's round 1. It's in Vegas. They're persisting. I'm not sure that they've given up what the expedition costs, but it's a pretty big junket. But it's typical PVL style. But it's here to stay for the interim anyway. But let's have a look at the first match. So it's the Sunday double header. So it's 11 o'clock. You got the Raiders outsider, and there's been a bit of money for them. The Warriors $1.67, the Raiders $2.20, 2.5 the line, and 42.5 the total under over. Nick Tedeschi, how are you going to play the first match of the year?
Well, don't you worry about PVLs worrying about junkets. Where's our junket? Where's the little birdie junket to Vegas?
I agree.
Well, you need to be worried about, Scoot. So let's get some focus at the start of the season. Worry about PVL. You worry about how we get into Vegas next year.
How are we not there this year?
Well, it's a great question, but the Bulldogs will be there next year, Scoot. So there's a bit of pressure
Incentive.
on you when you're making
Incentive.
it happen.
Right up.
So some notes from Vegas last year. Both favourites lost straight up, and the total went 1-1. Now, Canberra, New Zealand, probably slightly leaning towards the Raiders here. They're only missing Albert Opawade. They did a result out for the Warriors, but they've had a lot of player turnover in the off-season. No Johnson, no Fanil Blake, no Tucker Harris. The Warriors are the best of the Raiders lately. They've covered 7 of the last 9, but favourites in round one have covered just 29% in the last 3 years. So Canberra covered 7 of 9 interstate. Probably a lean towards the Roos, that being too bullish. Well, where I am completely in as deep as you can get is the under. I'll be back in the under in both games. 79.2% in round one the last 3 years, 62.8% the last decade. When there's an interstate team, round 1 to 4 in the last 3 years, the under goes at 70.6%. I am chips in the under in this game. And a little spoiler alert, when we preview the next game, I'll be rinsing and repeating.
Surely they just give a little bit of a little bit of slap and tickle and no tackle in the Vegas. This is basically exhibition match. Surely PVL gets in the rooms and says, "Hey boys, need to put the score on the board here."
No, a good exhibition match they should be rolling out a 4-0 game. That's what the punters want. That's what the Americans want. I want to see some hard tackling, some strong defence. That's what I want to see. Let's get the purists over there. So anyway, we're very, very keen on the under in this one, and the narrow field doesn't hurt it. So keen on the under.
Outstanding. Yeah, the narrow field size is a nice little angle there. Let's have a look at the second match. This is at 3:30. Got the Panthers $1.67, Sharks $2.20, 2.5 is the line, and 40.5 the total. Your chips in 5-unit play on your sub on the under here. But talk us through the match.
Yeah, so obviously we've gone through the under stuff. The match, from a preparation point of view, Cronulla are far more advanced than Penrith. Penrith had a lot of off-season injuries, off-season surgeries to fix up injuries. So, Nathan Cleary's barely been back that long. They're missing some players like Liam Henry, Brian Tottler's still out. Penrith this year, this is just a heads up on Penrith this year, they have no interest in the regular season. They could easily come 5th or 6th this year. It will be no reflection as to where they're at. They've won 4 premierships. They're looking to get to 5. This is all about health. It's about rest and management, and they're just not going to be ready. Yeah, they're not going to be up for every game. Now, this is Vegas. They could well be up to this one. They've got a great record against the Sharks. They've won 5 of the last 7 by 20 or more. Held the Sharks to 0 in the last 2. So, but I suspect Cronulla are going to be far more up for this game. I get a small bet on the plus, not an official play, but I'm betting the plus here. Cronulla travel well under Craig Fitzgibbon. They've covered 7 in the last 9 in the state. They've covered 7 of 10 as an underdog. This is no knock on Penrith, but they're trying to rework their teams, particularly at Luai. A bit of a surprise to me that apparently young gun Blaze Talani was not selected at 5'8". They're going with Jack Cole. So, yeah, I'm not sure of Penrith at the moment. So, I'm very confident Penrith will be a good team this year. But round 1, I think I'd rather be with the Sharks.
Sort of like that logic. I can see that. Just cuddle, and then they know in the big stage that they can just get it done. So, you've said enough there to get me interested in the Sharks as the outsider, and I might just go the Bundy big play there with the plus 2.5 Sharks into the under and just destroy your Sunday afternoon, because you'll have it all, won't you? You'll have the salami, the cheese, the Savoys. You'll have to have a couple of beers just to make up for the disappointment. All your mates are over there, and you're just sitting at home sulking.
Well, I don't drink any more, Scoot, so at least after last weekend, we'll see if that holds, Cameron Munster style. But no, I think we've got to put we'll either put a brisket or some kind of meat on the smoker, and we'll get that rolling on Sunday night.
Just all out for the league opener. All right, it's going to be a massive, massive season of rugby league. So if you haven't joined up, make sure you do with either the boys' packages or both, and bet your brains out for the entire year. Make sure you get the remote back off the missus this week, and just blast full steam ahead into the AFL and the greatest game of all, the rugby league. And it should be some cracking entertainment kicking off Sunday in this Vegas exhibition. So there you go. Double play on the unders. But, we'll be back with some more AFL Futures next week. We've got some AFL opening round. And then, we'll get into the back half of this first round of the rugby league action. But I've definitely enjoyed the chat with the boys. It's good to see them back with the tan and fresh. And Tedeschi off the drink, didn't think I'd see that, and poor old MG's going to have to bypass the Friday lunches from now on in. So it's good to see him back and focusing on the AFL. But that's a big wrap from us. Big thanks to Top Sport, Punting Form, Tas Racing, and all our sponsors. And we'll see you next week. And it's great to have the footy back.